Hello ladies and gentlemen, George here with another video about Advanced Squad Leader. This time we'll focus on nationality distinctions for Russians and Partisans. Before I go any further, I would like to let you know that this will be a short discussion about the pertinent rules. I highly recommend after watching this video that you do a full reading of the rules mentioned. Then play a scenario with an experienced player to reinforce your knowledge. I may provide you with a couple of suggested scenarios that you can play at the end of this video. With that said, let's go. At first glance, the Russian units look like they are at a great disadvantage compared to other nationalities, but this is not always the case. Often in various scenarios, they are given an immense number of units in the OB. Usually, Russians can entrench more readily than other units, making them a formidable defensive force. In addition, when used wisely and prudently, then they can exert more than average shots on the attack. The ability to massacre unarmed units also allows berserk units to return to normal more readily. Another important nationality trait for the Russians is the human wave, but it's not the subject of this video. I'm going to refer you to David Garvin's tutorial for this subject. Look for the link in the description below. Since the inception of Squad Leader and Cross of Iron, the original Squad Leader gamette, the Russian units are devilish wicked with MOL. MOL is short for Malt of Cocktails. Ultimately, MOL can add 4 firepower against an attack on unarmored units. Against armored fighting vehicles, the attack is resolved against AFVs on the HE and fire to kill column. Sadly, MOL is only available by SSR. MOL projectors are similar to bazooka without any backblast. In addition, Russian MMCs, again, become riders as of 1942, whereas other nationalities can only become riders starting in 1943 and on, giving them an immense amount of mobility. The other thing you need to know about Russians is with respect to their weapons and armored fighting vehicles, usually their breakdown numbers are lower than other nationalities. So you should avoid using them and forego their use unless they do make a difference in your firepower attacks. In addition, early war armored fighting vehicles may need to use platoon movement in order to move. And that is because in the early war years, Russian tanks supposedly were not armed with radios. There are scenarios, though, that in the SSR do allude or do indicate that perhaps 1 or 2 units do have radios and have this latitude and freedom of movement. Also, you should be very careful and read the vehicle notes because some tanks that were used throughout the war may not have had a radio in the early half of the war, but were subsequently equipped with radios in the latter half of the war. And a case involving that is the Puma scenario, which I did a video on. Now, with respect to partisans, it's very important to note that even though partisans came about in Eastern Europe, they're not necessarily Russian, and the Russian rules do not necessarily apply to partisans. So they do belong to more than one nationality. Their ELR is 5, which is important. And to note the importance of an ELR 5, just check my previous video with respect to elite units. They never surrender using the route phase method and never disrupt. And them being stealthy in terms of close combat, they're amazing. Mila 18 is a good example of that. A25.241, SSR attributes movement in woods and urban areas. So when you're playing a scenario involving partisans, it's very important to understand the SSRs and any special abilities that are attributed to them by the scenario creator. Number 6. This is our 6th slide, ladies and gentlemen. We're already almost at the end, and only 5 minutes into this wonderful presentation. So here are my recommended scenarios, right? So we know what rules to look out for, and typically new players to the game are sometimes overwhelmed with the amount of rules that you need to play the game, but you can start incrementally, and that's the scope of these videos, is to point and highlight to you the pertinent rules that can reinforce your knowledge with how to play more effectively and get you started in step-by-step way. So the first scenario that I recommend that everybody plays following this video would be ASL Scenario A, the Guards Counterattack. And all you really need in terms of the rule book in order to play this game effectively are chapters A and B, but you should be well versed in these two chapters. These two chapters alone will allow you to play Scenario A. So you need your basic infantry rules and your support weapon rules. Human wave, you may want to double read human wave. In my personal experience, I've never gotten the opportunity to use human wave and to use it effectively. I think it's more effective in open ground as opposed to a scenario that involves a city board. I've managed to play the Russians in Scenario A without using human wave and succeeded. But of course, one important element that we forgot between Dennis and I when we were playing the scenario is upper level encirclement. And and I wasn't playing the Russians in that scenario, but anywho, upper level encirclement is very important because once the Russians get a foothold on the building, the German player may route up, and of course upper level encirclement does not hinder his ability to rally, but it will impede his effectiveness at shooting out of his hex. The other important rule to highlight is commissar, and the commissar in this scenario can effectively prevent a German counterattack and can propel the Russian units towards the southeast edge of the board. Unfortunately, I don't have Vassal open to show you those tactics, but you can certainly see my previous video that I've done an AR on this particular scenario. The second scenario that I'd like you to take a look at is ASL Scenario D, the Hedgehog of Pievsk. Now, for this scenario, if you're being tutored, I highly recommend that you take the Germans and that the experienced player takes the Russian, and hopefully he'll show you not only some tips and tricks in the rules, but also some tactics that are of immense value. Now, what you have here is a big dilemma. How do you approach a well-armed opponent and dislodge them from a fortified objective? Fortified in the sense that you're going up against stone buildings, you're going up against a village as opposed to open ground, or an enemy simply in woods or entrenchments. And the trick here is to use terrain. Knowing that time is on your side, you can flank the village, and there is an opportunity for you to flank the village. I'm not going to give you a complete giveaway on the tactics with respect to that. What I do want to highlight is the importance of the distinctions here. And one other important distinction here is that you'll notice that in the Russian OB, there is a considerable shortage of leaders. Not only good support weapons that break at 11, but you also are hampered with leaders. But leaders can play a role here in terms of transporting the units to the front. So with those hints in mind, I think you have a foundation to build on with respect to playing the Russian. Now, The third scenario, and I'm going in terms of increasing complexity here, would be a winter melee. It's not only is my selection an increasing complexity, but in terms of fun, the fun increases one scenario after another. So are the challenges. So in this case, you need a more thorough reading of the rules. You need chapter A, B, C for any to-hit rules that you may have. Keep in mind, keep in mind that there are vehicles here, and there are paratroops, there are partisans, and there are riders, cavalry. So in this case, a more complete picture. Once you've accumulated more reading in the rule book, this is a scenario to really play. Germans need to avoid close combat and skillfully set up lines of defense and lines of fire. Now, honestly, I've only played this scenario at the COI level. I don't recall playing it at the level where, at the advanced squad leader level. And there are probably more twists and turns with sniper roles and self rallies in this at this level. And the other thing you need to know just off the bat is look at the special rules. There's probably a couple of hidden gems in there for the Russian as well as the German player. Okay. All right. With that said, let's go to a little Q&A. So Caslow from Calgary said, plentiful ammunition refers to OBA, not units. Point well taken. Caslow is correct. By the way, I forgot Caslow's actual name, so we can call him Gary from Calgary. That seems to rhyme. I remember Gary from Calgary quite distinctly because he was a bit of an adjudicator in my first game or my second game with against Stu. He kept the game from the quality of the game really high and keeping it focused on Starter Kit instead of it becoming a mishmash between ASL and Starter Kit. So I'm really grateful for his commentary, and I welcome his point of view. When discussing items within ASL, you should use the actual name. It is white phosphorus. Point well taken again, but in that respect, I refuse to comply, and the reason why is because the way I see it is, if Willie Peter helps me remember the rules with respect to white phosphorus and where I can find them in the rule book, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm not going to call it white phosphorus. I'm going to call it Willie Petey or Willie Pete or WP. But point well taken just the same. You spent almost the whole video going over what is in the rule book and almost nothing on how to use your forces given their strength and weaknesses. Well, I did point out in the beginning of the last video and this video that it's supposed to be a discussion. It's supposed to be a discussion that highlights the important rules. I recommended that a player subsequently reads the entire rule and plays a scenario that is pertinent to those rules. However, I didn't recommend any scenarios in the previous video. I did in this video here. And that's the scope. That's the purpose of this video. I do not want to spend 2.5 hours talking and regurgitating how you can use smoke to advance and using a village board and is this SK or is this ASL. I didn't want to go there. I hope people found this video useful. If not, well, there are other resources out there, and I'm not forcing anybody to view my videos. You can certainly select the videos that you like versus the ones that, and stay away from the ones you dislike. As for British troops not cowering, all British troops, excluding Free French elite first line units, are immune to cowering effects. Well, Gary from Calgary, I certainly agree with you in that point. Again, The correction is well taken, but in all the scenarios that I've played involving the British, there seems to be a distinction in the SSR between proper British troops and what the British would like to call, I guess, and they don't call them like that anymore, the colonials, us Canadians, the New Zealanders, Australians. Quite often than not, by SSR, they are given, they're not allocated the no cowering effects. However, in Hasmo 4, in playing Hasmo 4 as the British, I did not forget this rule. I may have, but we're certainly going to give it a go again. And I'm going to certainly remind Dennis, as the British player, you're not subject to cowering. And it's a learning experience. And the more you play, the more proficient you will be getting at the rules, I find. I think that is more rewarding in terms of knowledge than listening to somebody rant for 2.5 hours or 3 at that point. Okay, so Amphora says, this is a good vid. If the inset box of yourself was on the right of the screen, it would increase bullet point eligibility. Will you have access to a better microphone in the future? A cheap clip-on shirt mic would greatly increase the sound quality. Again, a well thought out video. Thank you for your comments, Amphora. You're absolutely right. Now, I did have a cheap headset on with a mic, and unfortunately, I forgot to plug it in the last video. So now I'm using my laptop's mic, and when I tried my mic again on my headset, it had a clicking noise, so I decided to go this route. As for the inset, as you can see in this video, I disabled it. Here I am now. Hello. And because I'm not a narcissist, I decided to take it out for now. I also bought a green screen from Amazon that made things worse, I think. It did not make things better. I was better off using a blue drape for painting from the dollar store than the package that I bought. Now I'm fighting with a monster in my room trying to get it back in its package and sent back to the shipper. Sylvie. Super Grumpy says, just 480p. Maybe next time at least 1080p would be nice, and your picture covers part of the text. Another point that I'd like to make with respect to that, thank you, Super Grumpy. Well, actually 2 points. If anyone wants my PowerPoint presentation, I'd be more happy to share it with them. I've did disclose my Discord ID, and I can send it to you via Discord. The other thing that I'm thinking about is actually going to Google Slides as opposed to PowerPoint. And with Google Slides, it will be easier to share with the rest of you. This is the whole point of this exercise is to reinforce my knowledge, reinforce your knowledge, and hopefully continue on our journey of learning this wonderful game. And certainly, and most importantly, is keeping in mind the history of the Second World War and teaching the Second World War to many folks. So with that said, we're approaching the 20-minute mark. There's typically up here in Canada, workdays are 8 hours, and 2-hour videos represent a heck of a lot of time. That's not the scope of this channel here. If you did like the video, smash the like button. If you did not like the video, I can assure you you had a horrible childhood, and I strongly suggest that you get some therapy, and preferably not at my expense or taxpayers' expense, but do consider that. Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great holiday season ahead. Take care and see you soon.